Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me again. This past week here in the UK has seen the tragic shooting of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Korbel. She was in her home minding her own business with her family, and one evening a gunman stuck his arm through the door and just opened fire randomly into her house with a single shot, killed her, and the killer is now at large. They're looking for him. You know, when something like this happens, you look at this and you say, where are the parents of the person that did it? Because somebody out there knows exactly who did it. And by not coming forward and saying, this is who did it, you're actually harboring a fugitive. And so you're also obstructing justice, and you are aiding and abetting a criminal. There's all sorts of things that come into play there. And so here we have this young guy who, I'm assuming it's a young guy, that shoots a 9-year-old girl, and he will be out there somewhere in Liverpool, in the UK, knowing exactly what he's done. He was aiming for somebody else because an intruder had just run into the house, and he was trying to shoot him but didn't take aim. There's a whole pantheon of things wrong with this situation. And I hearken back to the 15 years ago, the tragic shooting, again in Liverpool, of young Rhys Jones. Rhys Jones was coming back, I think, from football practice one evening, and he was shot outside in a car park by Sean Mercer. And Sean Mercer was found to have been harbored by his mother. His mother was sort of covering up for him and lying to the police about him. And eventually, when he was arrested and justifiably sentenced to 22 years, I think a very, very light sentence for killing a little boy, 22 years. He was 16 at the time when he did the shooting. But his mother, Janet Mercer, was also sentenced to 3 years in prison. Also, I think an extremely lenient sentence. She was sentenced to 3 years for lying to the police and actually not allowing her son to face the consequences of what he had done. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here as well with the killing of little 9-year-old Olivia. Somebody knows who did it. And by not handing that person in, you are not giving that person the dignity of facing the consequences of his own choices. We all make choices all the time which lead to consequences. And I can only imagine the horror that a parent must go through when you discover your child has committed a heinous crime like that, actually killed somebody. And your natural parenting instinct will be to protect. But at the same time, this is now a manhunt. They are now looking for this person. And if you know who did it, and you know they're going to find him, and you know that they need the consequences that they deserve, otherwise they'll never grow as a person, we are not doing anybody any favors by holding back that information and not allowing that child to face the consequences of their actions. But you see this sort of thing all the time, where parents seem to think they're doing their child a favor or being a good parent when they don't report a criminal activity that their child has been involved in. If we love our children, we want our children to become better people. We want our children to become great people. And so they have to face the consequences of their actions so that they will make better choices. If you hate the consequence, you change the choice. And so this boy has got to face the consequences, otherwise he'll never grow as a human being. Yes, he'll go to jail, hopefully for a very, very long time. But in that place, maybe he'll have an opportunity to learn the law of choice and consequence so that when he eventually does come out, he can actually live a fruitful life. I cannot get my head around parents that get angry with the school when their child has done something wrong and the school has rightfully punished them, and then the parent phones and tells the school off. Absolutely ridiculous. If we love our kids, we want them to grow, and they only grow through facing the consequences of their choices. So my fervent prayer is that the killer of Olivia will be found, will get his just desserts, and through that will have a growth experience and become a productive member of society in years to come. We don't do people any favors when we shield them from their deserved consequences.